problems. He just hasn't been able to get it going, but he wants to become a junior lightweight, a lightweight, finally fight Freddie Pendleton. Weight really hurt him in the last fight.
Well, in my last fight, 2 weeks before the fight, I just had to go through some unbelievable dieting procedures or starving or whatever you want to call it, but it pretty much just zapped my energy. And it did it over such a slow period of time, I didn't really feel it until it was too late, until I was in there fighting, and I just felt slow and sluggish and had no snap or anything on my punches.
Well, Dorsey was really to the point when we spoke with him this morning. He really feels he's got to get the guy out of there. He can't sit around and wait for a decision.
Hey, you don't want to go on the road and let the judges enter into it, especially in a situation where two fighters expect to go all the way.
So it should be a great main event. Grove and Dorsey, and be a guy who can get you out of there in a hurry, but he's a guy who does one thing: win.
Calvin Grove has fought a who's who list of opponents. Unfortunately for him, that's meant some tough losses. One of them came against Bernard Taylor, who did better than expected on the inside and stopped Grove in 11. Grove's signature fights came against Jorge Paez. He lost the first and his featherweight title by suffering 3 knockdowns in the final round. The rematch wasn't nearly as close. Grove went down late again and was beaten more convincingly. He showed mettle, however, against Julian Solis. Grove answered Solis' early fireworks with combinations of his own. Able to put Solis on the deck, Grove changed the momentum of the fight. It marked a rare win for him under pressure, but the euphoria didn't last. Champion Azuma Nelson also dropped Grove early. This time, there would be no rally. Grove fought his heart out, but Nelson was simply better. Nelson, one of the sport's premier performers, lived up to his billing. And now Grove tries to turn it around tonight and make his opponent fight his fight.
And here's a look at Calvin Grove as he makes his way into the ring. The styles in this fight very clearly defined.
And Grove will be trying to be the boxer, and he'll be trying to make Dorsey come to him, and he'll just try to pick him apart.
And here's a look at Troy Dorsey, already in the ring and already for business. Dorsey is a guy who has told us he just has to get this man out of there. He just doesn't want to depend on a decision.
Troy Dorsey is leaving the featherweight division behind, but he'll have some good memories. Dorsey won the IBF title in 1991 after using this 1989 victory over Harold Rhodes to crack the world ratings. Even back then, Dorsey was showing the aggression that would pave his success. This 1990 matchup with Bernard Pinango was a breather, sort of. It was the only fight Dorsey sandwiched between 2 grueling matchups with Jorge Paez, and he won handily. That gave him a chance to avenge a decision loss to Paez, who held the IBF title and was the division's godfather of fashion. It was a typical Dorsey performance. Fast-paced, exciting, and tough to score. This was the third of Dorsey's 4 draws. He would win and lose the title in 1991. Tonight he moves up against Calvin Grove.
And one thing that's certain, Calvin Grove is not going to have to find this man.
Should be right in front of him in an action-packed bout.
Calvin Grove, a guy who likely will look to lead with the jab, look to counterpunch a little bit. Both experienced fighters. Let's talk then, Dave, about the AutoZone keys to victory.
Calvin Grove, a jab is very good for him. He wants to move around, counter on angles, create mistakes by Dorsey. Dorsey's got to slip that jab, and then he can get inside and mug Calvin Grove, go to the body, and do good damage in there.
So that's the story. What's left is to get on with it. Why don't we do that with Hank Krapinski. Hank.
Boxing fans, this contest 10 rounds in the junior lightweight division. The referee for the bout is Frank Cappuccino. In the red corner, wearing black trunks, he weighs 132 1/2 pounds. From Mansfield, Texas, with a professional record of 13 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw with 11 knockouts, here is Troy Dorsey. And his opponent in the blue corner, wearing white trunks with red trim. He weighs 128 1/2 pounds. From Coatesville, Pennsylvania, his pro record is 41 wins, 5 losses with 26 knockouts. Calvin Silky Smooth Grove.
Good evening, gentlemen. I've given you instructions. Both these touch gloves. touch gloves. Good luck to both of you.
So there's a look at Troy Dorsey. He will be right after Calvin Grove. There's absolutely no secrets in this fight.
It's who imposes his will on the other. Now, Dorsey has the power, but how will he do on the road? How will he do at the new weight class?
I think that is the big question, and has time caught up to Troy Dorsey is another big question. Now, he's a guy who has 6 losses. All 6 of those losses have come in the last 2 years. He's only won 3 of his last 9 fights. There are a couple of draws in there, and he's lost 2 of his last 3, and that's going to be a slip.
And for a veteran fighter, those losses can serve as motivation, and you make an adjustment, move up in weight, and if that doesn't work, then you've got big problems.
Calvin Grove, very quick, and I'm sure he'll maintain that quickness as a junior lightweight. Not a big threat to get you out of there. He has 16 knockouts, but most of those are cumulative knockouts.
And many of them early in his career before his opposition was stepped up.
I did the fight that Calvin Grove lost to Paez, the first Paez fight in Mexicali. It was a fight that Calvin Grove had won until the final round of the fight. It was a 10-6 round for Paez, and all the years I've been doing boxing, I've never seen a 10-6 round.
They are very rare. There may have only been a couple in the last decade, and 3 knockdowns in the final round. And normally that would stop a fight, but it didn't. And you also saw a rare one, a 15-round fight. That's a dinosaur now.
It's true. Other thing I remember about Calvin Grove in that fight is it was about 115 degrees in Mexicali during that day, and Calvin was sitting by the pool. So I'm sure he went into that fight probably 4 or 5 pounds lighter than he was at the weigh-in.
If he sat by the pool a half an hour less, he doesn't have that 15th round, perhaps. But now, and he realizes that was the turning point in his career. It's never been the same since then. That took a lot out of him.
Both of these fighters, of course, have Paez in common.
And at least one disputed verdict with Paez in common.
Grove countering well in this first round and jabbing, both the things that you indicated as the keys to victory for him.
Using a lot of the ring and making Dorsey chase. Dorsey's figuring if I can just land a couple body shots in there, I will slow him up. And there's a good counter by Grove.
Double right hand. Grove executing extremely well in this first round. Grove making Dorsey lunge at him. Quick right hand lead by Grove. He's sort of showing Dorsey a little bit of everything in this first round. There's an uppercut and a 1 good round for Grove.
What's in it for me?
Second round, Grove, I'm sure, did everything he would have wanted to in that first 3 minutes.
The jab being his key, and he threw 47 out of 72 in that first round. That's the way he's got to win. Dorsey's corner telling him smartly between rounds, don't be lunging, don't get your shoulders out over your gloves, get inside. They don't want him to be such an easy target.
And here are the numbers in the first round, and actually those numbers are not as divergent as I thought they might be.
Yeah, they're very close as far as the numbers landed. And Grove missing a lot of jabs, but even though he missed a lot, it kept Dorsey off balance.
Cut over the right eye of Dorsey, and that could be a problem. Now that's something that Grove is very adept at working on.
Especially with all the jabs and an ability to turn the punch at impact, slice away. And especially with that cut now, Dorsey will have to gamble.
Even more.
He will have to take a few shots to get in regardless, because he's got to do damage and at least slow Grove up and change the tempo of this fight.
Hard to tell how bad that cut is. We'll try to get a chance to see between rounds. Grove working it pretty good, though.
But it's in a bad spot because that's where it lines up with Calvin Grove's jab. As of now, it's not a bad cut, but it has the potential to be a very bad cut.
Grove just fighting a very effective fight so far, regardless of the eye.
He's only taking what's being offered here. He jabs, gets away, and only throws the right hand occasionally. And a flush right hand there by Grove. It almost looks too easy for him right now.
Second slip of the fight. And that cut looks to be in the corner of the right eye of Troy Dorsey.
And it's opening because Dorsey is dropping his right hand when he tries to jab. And that's exactly what his corner was telling him not to do. It's part of the lunging.
There was a left hand by Dorsey, his best punch of the fight. Well, the one thing that is suspect about Grove could be his chin. He has gone on more than one occasion. Dorsey's starting to get to him at the end of that last round. Going to go into the corner of Troy Dorsey now. Dave Gorman, the voice you'll be hearing.
Grove doing his best work with the left hand, and this opens up the cut more. That's in perfect range for him.
Two shots together, the three shot, but the right hand immediately behind the jab and get back down.
We start the third round. We'll see what kind of work they could get done on that cut of Troy Dorsey. Dorsey did start to come on with the left hand at the end of the second round.
Well, the work between rounds seems okay, but can he give the corner a round where he's not going to get hit? And he's going to try to do that by getting inside, and he's already opening up again.
Here are the numbers, and Grove with a pretty good edge in that second round. Dave Gorman, the trainer of Troy Dorsey, is with us right now. And Dave, is there any sense of urgency because of the cut right now?
No, there's not really a problem at this point with the cut. It's not bad. Ron Hatcher's got it under control, and Casey Malone, the trainer's trying to get him to cut off the ring, and Calvin's very slippery, but I think he'll eventually get where he wants to be in there with him.
Dave, why do you think Troy's getting hit so much with the left hand?
Well, Calvin's just a very quick guy, and he's no doubt Troy's dropping his guard a little bit there, but he's going to have to step it up and get rougher with Calvin.
All right, thanks very much, Dave. That's Dave Gorman, the trainer of Troy Dorsey. Not concerned about his charge right at the moment.
And he talked about Dorsey dropping his guard. The right hand does drop as Dorsey tries to lunge in, and Grove's been able to time that perfectly. Again, as Dorsey lunged, Grove found the eye.
But the question is, will the left-handed Dorsey get there before the eye gets bad enough that it really becomes a problem?
That's why it's an intriguing fight.
Well, Dave Gorman said he's not too concerned about the eye, but
I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, I am too, because as an observer here, that cut does not look any too good.
Plus, you're not fighting at home.
There's a counter right hand by Grove.
Well, what referees look for with cuts when they stop fights is how the fighter seems to be affected by it. Now, Dorsey has not even acknowledged the cut. He goes right through. When he starts to blink and wipe it and that kind of thing, then he'll be in danger of getting it stopped.
The one thing is the cut. There's a nice combination by Grove. The cut is on the corner of the eye and not over the eye, so that could help Dorsey.
Yes, but he still feels his own blood running down his face all the time. Right now, Dorsey has no answer for the speed of Grove. He's got a good strategy, but Grove is a step and a half ahead.
And giving him a lot of angles, too. Grove is never right in front of Dorsey. Very good round for Calvin Grove. Dominated the round. We start the 4th round. Frank Cappuccino in that corner, and already the blood has started for Troy Dorsey. First step out of the corner.
And they will get more concerned about the cut as the fight goes on, and the referee looks to stop it all the time. Dorsey's corner being very technical with him, and maybe that's not the way to go in this fight. He's got to cut loose and forget about trying to think where his feet are and where he is on the floor. He might just have to let his hands go, because Grove has the hand speed and negates all of the strategy.
Is doing a very good job of countering Dorsey. 3-punch combination, 5 punches by Grove.
That's the intangible asset of speed. You're seeing it right here. When Grove doesn't want to rumble inside, he is out of danger immediately. And he's on an angle to punch. Dorsey doing more of what he should here. Getting in, taking whatever is necessary, and unleashing.
And I think that left hand might have done a little more damage to the cut. There may be a cut over the eye now, too.
Well, Grove able to double up on that left hand. And not showing any ill effects off a mild layoff since the Nelson fight.
No,
he looks sharp.
Very sharp. Sharp and fighting a very intelligent fight, too.
Yeah, there is a tendency when things come too easily to open it up and get a little bit cocky. But Grove is staying with what's there. Get a couple shots in, move, get out.
Nice right hand. Just stopped Dorsey in his tracks.
Dorsey and Grove are both fighting the right fight. Dorsey's doing what he has to, too. He's just not quick enough.
Now, the only thing that history will tell you from watching Calvin Grove is that he is always suspect.
Especially late.
There was a left hand by Dorsey.
Dorsey may lose this round, but he's getting the fight competed where he wants, up close, because he cannot win this fight far away.
Come to the end of round number 4, and Dorsey starting to get there a little bit more.
Top again, misses with an uppercut, comes back with a left hook.
And in Dorsey's corner, they're telling him just come right up the middle, just battle it.
It's exactly what we were talking about last round. He cannot win it strategically.
I think he can't do it. He still has a tendency to lunge a little bit. That's going to take his power away from him. Here are the total numbers, and there's just no contest.
That's a runaway in that department for Grove.
On your card, shutout for Grove. Hard to look at it any other way. We mentioned that Dorsey started to come on the end of the last round. It looked like he might be sort of getting the idea, but not so much in this one.
When you break them down round by round, Dorsey's just not quite doing enough. Still, last round, he put the fight where he wanted to. He got it in close. He just has to do more in here. But he's looking at the body of Calvin Grove and seeing a very small target. He needs a couple body shots to slow Calvin Grove first. Then he can punch. Grove showing some of the vintage skills which enabled him to get that big lead against Paez.
Nice left hand by Grove.
At one time, Grove was one of the premier fighters in the lower weights. He said this morning, you bring a guy who comes right in front of me, I just love that. And Dorsey has been in front of him, and Grove's been moving laterally.
And that actually, Dorsey's going to be in front of him, too. That's not going to change. Blood on the face of Troy Dorsey.
Calvin Grove can land 2 or 3 shots to the head whenever he wants.
5-punch combination all got there by Grove.
And he had his full leverage. He got them all in. And he didn't go crazy after he got them in there. He went away.
Well, I think he's a fighter who seems to know both his abilities and his inabilities, and he's really playing to his strong suit right here.
And this is what got him the title. And this is what he wants to keep doing.
End of round 5. Probably the best round of the fight for Calvin Grove, and he's won them all before this.
Now when you
speed, you can miss with a punch, be in position, and land the next one. Grove misses with the right, the left hand right there.
Thought Grove's corner very good with Boogaloo Watts. Just kind of everything we're asking you to. You're doing a good job. Just don't let up.
And they're reminding him that his biggest enemy could be complacency. He's done everything perfectly, and he just has to maintain his focus and not get tired of doing it and stay with what got him here.
And don't get too brave. Look at the jabs for Grove, and that was one of the things that Watts was talking about. Just stay with that jab. Keep him off you with the jab.
And even though they're not all getting in, he's averaging more than 40 around, and that sets the pace of the fight. We've seen many fighters that have their height and reach and don't use the jab. When you look at this fight, you see what an asset it truly is.
Well, and especially Calvin Grove's case, because that is his weapon. It's not something he needs to use to set up something else.
Never saw a fighter who could jab have a losing record. You're watching this happen and almost expecting at some point that Grove has to make a mistake, but it hasn't happened.
There was a right hand by Dorsey.
And Grove had his left hand low. Yeah, you talk about fatigue and the jabbing and everything. Let's see if he gets tired with that left hand and has trouble holding it up in the later rounds. This has been an excellent pace.
Very up-tempo.
Dorsey is still hanging around, hoping for one opportunity.
Dorsey still looks strong. I don't think anything is sapped from Dorsey. Round number 6, and the story is pretty much as it has been all along. Dorsey looking to load up. That's a slip. We'll be back.
From any angle Calvin Grove can land, up on his toes with the right hand, off balance, he still gets the shot in.
So it has been Calvin Grove's fight. Dorsey just looking, as we said, to load up with one. He hasn't gotten there yet. Calvin Grove has just done everything right so far tonight.
To Dorsey's credit, he hasn't quit. He hasn't gotten too frustrated. He's still trying to win with the style that he needs to win this fight. Get inside, try for the big shot.
Numbers through 6, very lopsided for Calvin Grove, but Dorsey just looking for the one punch, and he is the guy who can get you out of there.
And he needs to throw a pair of handcuffs around Calvin Grove. Anything to just stop his movement.
Grove with the right hand. little bit of a slapping right hand, but it's clean. And hard to see this any other way. And again, these days I'm really hesitating to say that, but it seems like a fact.
Well, in this arena tonight, you have no idea what you're going to see. But that should be safe anyway. Grove utilizing the entire ring. For someone like him, the bigger the ring, the better. He uses it all, and he should. That's his way.
And he's not a runner. That's not to say that he's a runner.
Right, because when he's circling around, he's not taking wide circular steps. He's moving one step, and then he's right back in position to punch. And it's really something they try to teach that to fighters, but you really can't. That's all reaction and instinct.
He's got away with that right uppercut from outside on a couple of occasions. Dangerous punch.
And only his ability to move and get out of the way of shots has enabled him to do that. And that left hand by Grove is held low. He should be jabbing for more higher, like with his from his shoulder area.
Well, that's the problem. He is always on such an edge that when fatigue does start to set in just a little bit, he could have some problems.
His hands are lower now. And the right hand is there for Dorsey. He should gamble and try to get it home.
All right, come on, come on, come on.
Well, if I can quote your replacement, Al Bernstein, for a minute, he always talks about stepping outside the left foot and just coming with that right hand when a fighter's left hand is as low as Calvin Grove's is.
Yeah, it's a technique, but with the speed of Grove, Dorsey can't be too technique conscious tonight. He may just have to charge and get it there. He's not cutting off the ring.
Al will be back next week. He's in a team penning competition. That's a rodeo. I didn't know
He was working on his riding all week.
I always thought team penning was riding.
Well, that's the secondary phase.
That's true. It's the Ben Johnson Rodeo in Las Vegas. Al's a cowboy. So is Troy Dorsey, for that matter. And Troy Dorsey right now, I'm sure he wishes he was on a horse.
Don't get counted, okay? Don't get counted, okay? Keep them hands up, keep moving, that's something.
Another reminder that Sports Center coming up tonight at 11 o'clock Eastern, the NBA All-Star Game, another terrific game. It's always a lot of fun. Become a really big event. The news that we told you about earlier, the possibility of a Bo Holyfield rematch, and of course Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann will tell you all about that, and a battle in the Big Ten, Purdue and Indiana, and the Hoosiers playing like number one. That's at 11 Eastern.
Grove using the jab here. He's tired now. That's not the same jab we saw earlier in the fight. I guess after you throw 300 some, you're allowed to throw a couple lazy like that.
Grove just using everything in the book here. Came with a right-hand lead that time. Still giving Dorsey a lot of angles, a lot of movement.
He moves and punches at the same time, and most fighters move then punch. So he's getting the split-second edge and taking full advantage of it.
This fight's scheduled for 10 rounds, remember, because the title is not at stake here, which should give Troy Dorsey a little bit more sense of urgency.
He feels like he's just been chasing Calvin Grove around all night, and this was not what he wanted. He had to stop Grove from getting into this strategy. And as frustrating as it's been for Dorsey, Grove still with his hands down, is still out there to be hit.
Which has got to be even more frustrating for Dorsey, because now he knows his man can be hit. He's just not able to hit him. You have a sense that Dorsey starting to get a little frustrated here.
He's tired now, too. He's hitting his own wall. It's been a fast-paced fight, which benefits Grove more than Dorsey. And Dorsey doesn't even look smooth coming in as he did in the middle rounds. He's just getting there somehow. And Calvin Grove just leading him around. And Dorsey's on a leash right here.
Let him go, Troy. Let him go, Troy.
If Dorsey couldn't get over to his right a little bit, then he could get a shot in. He could force Grove to turn and be vulnerable for a second.
All right, both of you step back. Both of them.
Frank Cappuccino has not had much to do in this fight. There's been very little clinching. There's a right hand by Grove. That's about as good a punch as Calvin Grove could throw, I think. And another right hand.
And his corner probably wishes he wouldn't throw them so hard because he might get caught up in it.
Coming to the end of the 8th round, and Calvin Grove really administering a lesson now to Troy Dorsey. It's all Grove.
Watch the reactions of Calvin Grove. That's a nice right hand, and that's not enough. He comes right back with the left. Great ability to think on his feet.
A little bit of desperation in the voices in the corner of Troy Dorsey, and it shows in the fighting.
Yeah, they're telling him to breathe as he's punching, which is a little bit difficult to do.
And you can see the numbers in the last round just decidedly in Calvin Grove's favor, as they have been the whole fight.
Well, for Dorsey, much of his energy has been expended chasing Grove down. And that's why it's a nightmare for someone of his style to face a Calvin Grove who is on his game. Same thing that someone would come up against by fighting Pee Wee Whitaker. The fast hands and feet, there's just no way unless you can slow the person down.
Extremely tough task now for Troy Dorsey. It wasn't easy at the outset, but it's even tougher now, because he knows he's got to knock him out.
And Calvin Grove, unlike other fighters with quick hand speed and some power, will not take a chance.
Lunging right hand by Dorsey. See, Dorsey can't even set down on his punches because Grove is so quick.
Let him out. Let him out.
And that affects all the power on Dorsey. He almost got the feeling that if he got inside, the first punch would be wasted, but he would have to get a second one behind it.
Yeah, and get his feet under him at the same time.
And breathe.
And breathe. That's right. They always talk about fighters thinking too much in the ring, and it becomes a second nature sport, I would have to think, once you're in there.
Especially if it's as basic as you have to attack and slow the opponent down. And Dorsey just has to get to Grove, and he's been unable to land the body shot.
Get up.
But you have to give a lot of credit to Grove because he did not abandon the good strategy tonight.
But a reminder that as soon as we get out of here, NHRA drag racing. Sunday. Phoenix, Arizona, NHR drag races, yes.
Those funny cars.
What do I know? Is Don the Snake Prudhomme still racing?
I think they retired him. He is still on the active set.
Yes, he is. I know that's. You don't cover that, do you?
Not as much.
Well, Calvin Grove, the boxing personification of a drag racer, very quick. How's that for a segue? Weak, huh?
Step back. Both of them.
So Troy Dorsey will make the walk back to his corner for the last time as we approach the 10th and final round. Well, next week it's championship fight time for us. Al Bernstein will be back as we go to Atlantic City, the Trump Castle, where the IBF Cruiserweight title will be on the line. Alfred Cole, the holder, Uriah Grant, who I think could give him all he wants.
Seeing Grant in some good fights with Bobby Chez, and Cole won the title on ESPN in July.
Last round.
More of the same for Grove. He's even sitting down more. Two-punch combinations. it would be hard to isolate points in this fight when he didn't throw combinations.
A very effective fight for Calvin Grove. Fighting an opponent who really is made to order for him.
Made to order, but if you're Dorsey, you're taking this fight thinking, hey, he could abandon his strategy. Other fighters have knocked him down late. But Grove has stayed with the style, and as far as Dorsey's concerned, you cannot give a guy speed.
Well, Dorsey knows he's not going to win a decision. He's just got to get after things here. And it's basically what he's trying to do, but it's sort of like trying to grab a hummingbird.
And I think he knew he wouldn't win a decision even as early as round 3.
Well, I think he knew it as early as the weigh-in this morning. And here are the numbers, almost 2-1 for Calvin Grove.
That's pretty good punch volume for Grove during this fight.
That's an average of almost 40 connects a round. Actually, a little bit more than that if you consider what might happen in this round. Nice combination again by Grove. Got Dorsey turned around.
Grove's best asset to this point is that he doesn't have a puncher's ego. It's all coming nicely for him. He's scoring at will, but he hasn't stepped it up and taken a chance.
Well, maybe that Paez fight, the first Paez fight, really was a wake-up call in its own way for him, realizing that this is the way he has to fight if he's going to win.
He blew a very big lead, and 14 rounds of good work went out the window with one real bad one.
And it also shows that a guy like Calvin Grove can be a crowd pleaser despite fighting a style that normally you would think people would not be attracted to.
Right, because when he gets the openings, he lands 2, 3, 4 punches in a row, and he gives the impression that he's thinking and planning in there, not just jabbing and circling. That is an interesting mix to fight your fight and still please the fans a little bit at the same time.
And again, just stopping and punching, and he stopped Dorsey right in his tracks.
And he waits for Dorsey to come again and then swiftly moves out of the way. Everything Dorsey telegraphs, Grove has played off. When Dorsey drops the shoulder, Grove moves to his left, and he's ahead of the punch that Dorsey throws. It's like he's got an informer.
That's right. Well, Dorsey's not a great secret either. Nice right hand, and that caught Dorsey leaning in.
Well, Calvin Grove could not have drawn this fight up any better.
That was an excellent performance. It's hard to imagine Dorsey won a round. And, of course, that probably means it'll be a split decision, right?
Probably a draw.
Yeah. Well, it's over. And that is also a slip. That is not a knockdown. Actually, that might, Grove looks like he was hurt by that last punch.
That was a good shot.
He really did. I believe that probably was a knockdown. I think I said slip too early.
Well, he got...
Take a look.
Coming in there right on the top of the temple. Backing Grove up. There's a tremendous right hand, and down he goes, and a little after the belt. Technically, he wasn't knocked down this fight, but he was at the end here. And this is something that was open for Dorsey all night long, but he didn't back Grove up until the end.
And he got him at the end. There's no question about that. Well, basketball coming your way. Big Monday tomorrow night, a triple dip. We start in the Big East with number 17 Pittsburgh against Providence. At Providence, they're going to be tough there. That's at 7:30 Eastern time. Then it's out to the Big 8 for Kansas and Iowa State. Another good home court for Iowa State against the 6th-ranked Jayhawks. That's at 9:30. Then we go out to the Big West, and I don't know if there is a better home court than the Thunder. That's Big Monday on ESPN. Meanwhile, we've had Big Sunday here, and a big Sunday particularly for Calvin Grove.
Yeah, he really fought an excellent fight up until the very end there. Used the jab extensively, went in and out, and it was Matador and bull-like for him. Over 400 punches landed, and he just pulled away at the end.
All right, let's get to it then. We'll get the decision from Hank Krapinski. Hank.
The winner of this contest on a unanimous decision, Calvin Silky Smooth Rose.
Well, it wasn't a surprise, I'll say that.
They got one right tonight.
Yeah, very good effort, though, for Calvin Grove.
Something that he'll build a lot of confidence on and get to the world ratings off of this performance.
All right, that's a wrap for us on this snowy night in Philadelphia. For Dave Bontempo, I'm Barry Tompkins. We'll see you next week in Atlantic City.